almost all so-called journalists in corporate sector from almost all countries take the line of corrupt governments.
Yeah.
Their mindset rests in power from the barrel of the gun rather than doing real journalism. How accurate is this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all really about intention and mindset. I mean, when you say corrupt governments, we're not talking about kleptocratic, like we're recording in Malaysia, and we had the conviction of the former prime minister or president here for sort of proper kleptocracy of siphoning off money into his own bank accounts and the buying of yachts and all the rest of it. We're talking about sort of morally corrupt governments that don't stand up for what they proclaim to stand up for. And the subservient client journalism that upholds those power structures and those administrations. Yeah, I think I'm very critical about this topic with this so-called professional journalism, because the problem is, it's, just to zoom out for a second, it's like, we're surrounded by all these books. How many of those books were good books written for dollar? They won't have been. They will have been written out of creative passion. And so there's this sort of corrupting force of doing things in a capitalist, professionalist construction. And that is quite a corrupting force, but it's a powerful force. And at the same time, to speak practically, if you take the UK, for example, BBC journalist or whatever, they've got a mortgage to pay and kids to feed. To what extent are they going to enact a intellectual resistance against BBC coverage if they feel there's just no point? And are they able to leave? Are they able to leave and maintain the responsibilities they have with their family and children, for example? So practically there are reasons why people tell themselves certain things. But then ideologically there are also these constructions as well. And I think the issue is with journalism, and I come from the background of reading Media Lens, which is a British media lens critical analysis think tank, effectively. They wrote a piece once sort of zooming into this topic, talking about professional journalism and saying that basically, what did they call it? What was their construction? It was something like unskilled middle class or something. In other words, you effectively, you get the job because you sound right and you think in a particular approved way, but there's not that much skill in it, if you see the point. That was their critical take on that point. But I think also it's just the groupthink, and it's just the professionalization and formalization of something creates this sense of momentum and sense of there is one way to do everything, which then leads to this sort of lack of diversity, lack of intellectual robustness, lack of courage, lack of even sort of intellectual creativity, really. You end up with this homogenous media coverage throughout the genocide where the resistance, if there is any, is all of the same archetype. And I think that's where independent media is able to be real media. And I still think that the best way of doing this is crowdfunding. I don't think that there's any better way. I mean, even with crowdfunding, it's not flawless, but it's as close to flawless as I think you're going to get, really. Meaning, crowdfund, let's say 80% of your donations are from small mum and pup, 20% are maybe larger contributions. And it's the larger contributions that are the issue, because if certain people are having outsized influence, that becomes an issue. But transparency can address this, and also preventing enormous donations from certain people can prevent this. or having some practical measures where those who are donating remain anonymous or are forced to remain anonymous as much as possible can prevent this. And then you genuinely have an independence where the financial base is sort of quite secure, but the intellectual basis is free. That's the best I think we can hope for.